Welcome everyone to this live stream. By the way, are we even live? Should have actually started my activity stuff here before to actually have here some idea of what we are doing here in regards to CPU load, network and whatnot. Of course, tunneling through SSH because not amazing Vodafone doxes. So some updates here on this random tinkering, if you're interested. One thing is I always said here Sony Vaio P for this kind of portable road warrior nonsense, or not nonsense, but portable computing stuff. And I will also continue with this, but not in this live stream. I should also stop here this monitoring of our own video connection with 1 Mbit 0 frames, amazing SSH performance. So this of course is a thing. I recompiled my whole Musel system there, Musel, alternative libc, smaller and such, maybe more standard conform. With CLang I actually recompiled everything for more size optimization because, as you have seen in my very in-depth benchmarking, that CLang has OS and OZ. Welcome everyone. And yeah, so we will continue because one thing, so I have tweaked some more stuff left and right, but this is for another live stream. This is just the random stuff here on my desk. Then I found some zip diskettes here from back in the day, and I might have already shown this a little bit in some other live stream. Here is my SCSI zip. So this is first hand from back in the day, and of course everyone needs to call me when we want to live stream. We are live streaming right now. I'll call you back in a moment. And this zip, this is of why I purchased the SCSI version. I often say cheapskate, but usually I saved a couple of months more and purchased a more flexible thing to have this a little bit, still I can use it today. How do I connect this? Here with this, I've seen this, you can go back to my year or 2 year old videos, Adaptec USB to exchange, some USB thing I maintain, with all my non-contributing contributions, I maintain here keep around and update a little bit Linux kernel patch. So out of the vanilla Linux kernel, this does not work, but our T2 kernel and such shared and published and stuff. There is a driver for this if you want to use it. It then works over USB storage as soon, because what this needs is only the firmware upload. So if you have this patches that I keep around. Anyway, long story short, I copied this already. I could insert this again just for the YouTube views here if you are interested. And by the way, super fragile. I show you my, most people have here some clicking of this. I'm actually quite lucky that this survived. And what I found on there, not sure if I inserted the correct this is how reading this sounds, mount this to media, and on one of these, let's see if this is the right one. This is not the right one, but doesn't matter. I copied here from the other ones, and it was this one, doesn't matter so much. I only wanted to show you this shortly. That's not the main point of the video. But one point is, if you buy something, maybe wait a month until prices come down, or save 1 more month, because if I would have purchased the parallel port version, then I would be completely screwed now with low performance piece of junk. Unmount this already because I made already a backup of this. And also first I thought, because the files were corrupt, and I thought, damn, I mounted this 2 years ago, and now after another 2 years this stuff dies. But no, it was this SCSI USB connector thing. I have 2 of those. I have USB 1 and USB 2, and now I use the USB 1, whatever was too fast, too high performance on the Ultra SCSI something USB 2 version. So whatever. And I can probably unplug this now. I can show you also the amazing power supply. Just unplug this. This is my amazing self-built power supply. I built this when I was 18, huge time ago, because so this is using a regular 7905 or something, because the original power supply died. Actually, back in the day, I should probably make a warranty case, but whatever. This was back in the day when you were sending paper mail and there was not so much internet and stuff. Anyway, I just built my power supply. In retrospect, I should probably try to repair this power supply, but whatever. So, point of this video, I mentioned already a couple of times that I'm really disappointed by the performance of this new Linux stuff, that everything compiles forever. Also, I packaged for 7 hours KDE and GNOME. They updated all the stuff, or not even all, only some of it. And here I have here the copy already, Rock Linux 1.2. This should be 1998-ish. And I will not do this today. I tried already for a moment to compile this, but obviously this here is designed for Bash 2 and GCC. Of course, I can't just compile this here on my state-of-the-art GCC 8 and glibc whatnot, Bash 4.05 or whatsoever. The question is more, would you be interested, should I really spend the efforts to get some old virtual machine? Probably I have here also from another backup. Another day I found here some desktop Rock Linux. I actually used this already for the SGA Origin video, because on the modern Linux, because no regressions, everything just works, not. And on this modern Linux I could not get NFS server to work for port mapping, whatsoever reasons. And I could use this install. I deleted this virtual machine because probably often I need some space here for all the other scientific workload stuff. So probably have to reinstall it, not such a big deal. I could, by the way, I have also Rock Linux 139 CD here, backup from wherever. Maybe I even have a physical CD there. And for some strange reason, this Rock Linux 1.3 does not boot in QEMU. However, this desktop Rock Linux, I said already multiple times, the Rock Linux people were not the most responding, and by the way, I probably should not run it like this. This is too high of a CPU load. Enable KVM. And I said it already multiple times, when I packaged some desktop stuff, the Rock Linux people, I sent this in, of course, even in 1998 already, being a good open source citizen. So this actually really boots here in nearly latest QEMU. I installed this already once. We could install it again. We probably don't have GCC on here, but this is, what bash is this? Version, wait a second, no bash here. Whatever, no bash in the install thing, but this is whatever Linux this is. Not version. So long story short, so this is 2.4.16, but I have something way more older. The source, which is of course quite nice. Also, I even have here the download archive, due to some miracle, because this was my backup zip with all the. Also, this was super expensive, right? I downloaded everything of this. I downloaded in 1998-ish, 1997 over a V90 modem with 56K, and even I brought in a bookstore there was CD set, like 6 CD. Maybe I even have it still somewhere in the attic or wherever. I even brought SUSE source FTP mirror thing on CD, because it was so much more affordable. Whatever this costed, 19 Deutschmark or 29 Deutschmark, or I have no idea. I quote here some random, guesstimate here some random stuff. And by the way, this is Deutschmark 44. Can you believe 44 Deutschmark 95 Pfennig for 250 megabyte zip, by the way. Fun stories from the past. And I brought the SUSE FTP mirror dump there on 6 CDs or something, because this downloading this, all the sources here, this are DUCH for archive also. This are 100, I have here right now 196 megabyte. I hope this is nearly everything. Actually, we could try find archive. How many files are this? Word count, yeah, 221.9 files. Let's hope this is right, mostly complete, because finding some of the sources nowadays will be quite a challenge to compile this. Whatever I saw here earlier when I made the backup, of course this backup was running 5 minutes or something over USB 1. So GNOME, you see a GNOME 010, Ghostrip 550. and Enlightenment 0.15 CVS, because this was before Subversion and Git, CPIO 2.4, Util-Linux 2.9, AutoConf 2.13. Hey, this is a vintage version that Firefox, until recently Firefox still needed this bloody old, 20-year-old, fun fact, AutoConf version. Yeah, BSIP2, early adapter of BSIP2. And yeah, X3 here, you see X3 is 3.3.4. And this was also the time why I'm getting so frustrated with this open source stuff. This 200 packages, I'm not sure if this is 100% complete, where would be the Linux server, Linux archive. Do we have some Linux kernel? Hey, Linux 2.2.11, that would be really vintage. And do we have GCC in here? So the point of this video, because I also have other, maybe I make a short live stream on my main channel. This is just here the random update of the vintage corner and the fun stuff. So in theory, I would be really interested to compile this in a virtual machine, certainly, because I would be really curious what is the performance, because all the stuff back in the day, I have my IDT WinChip that I had here already multiple times. All my vintage stuff there is in the shelves. Don't want to run there now off video, and I could maybe have prepared better and collected this here, but at least we have the Sony YUP in here. But anyway, so back in the day, first I mentioned it already 100 times, I had a 120 MHz Pentium, later a 240 MHz IDT WinChip 2, and these were the machines I did all this compilation. So I compiled all the desktop Rock Linux on, I probably used the IDT WinChip for the most part, I guess. And I even underclocked this because maybe it was slightly faster. I said this also already. It probably was slightly faster with a higher bus frequency. And this is probably why I clocked this, whatever, 80, was it 75 multiplied by, yeah, so probably it was faster with a system bus of 75 megahertz. So I even run it slightly underclocked with this faster frontside bus thing there. And so yeah, welcome everyone in the audience, really nice to see you all here. The question is, because this will not be an easy task here, because this would be hoping that this desktop Rock Linux is not too new from whenever that was. This one point, actually we could maybe, let's loop back mount this here. Home Rene, this is VM's DRock, and then let's mount this here, because maybe for sure we probably have some dates in there. By the way, fun fact that you learn something here, because this would not be the most amazing in-depth tech channel if you would not regularly educate your stuff. Fun fact, until recently, mount required you to specify OLOOP manually, and I was actually surprised recently that this just worked. This just changed a year or two ago or something, that mount from, at least, of course not in macOS or BSD, but at least the super feature enhanced amazing Automagic Linux version here is automatically setting up the loop device for this is a new thing. So this apparently maybe is at least the date in the ISO file is even this would be from 2001, and not sure if the sources are in here, but maybe the CD probably should have the sources, I guess, maybe. So yeah, leave me in the comments below, not something we start today, because I would be really interested in the performance running some X3 3.3 theoretically, well, very theoretically. I mean, so much fun videos we could do here. I wonder how many people would be interested. We could even run this with a PCIe pass-through with my PCIe bridge with a real S3 Verge card, running this really natively without virtually, well, in QEMU, but only for the PCIe pass-through, because obviously I can't combine an AMD Ryzen with this and all the other modern peripherals. Yeah, leave me in the comments below if this would be something interesting. In a way, I would be really curious, because I would be really curious how is the performance, because I rebuilt on the AMD Ryzen that I've shown you in the other videos the last night or previous night, all the funny night tasks we do here for all the testing, regression testing, and research and development. I recompiled everything of this Musil build, this Musing CLang build with OSET. So I committed this already in T2. So now when you choose size optimization in T2, then with CLang, this is using OSET for, as seen in my benchmarks, for reduced size there in the binaries. And this took so long. On the 16 thread Ryzen, This is ridiculous. It felt not really that much faster than compiling these sources on this IDT WinChip 225, what this was there, 225 megahertz. And nowadays I found out this motherboard that I used did not have documentation. Nowadays I run it slightly overclocked because this IDT WinChip can only do only integer multipliers, not fractional, so not like 2.5 or 3.5. This is why this IDT WinChip only could use 2, 3, 4 multiplier. This is why I was slightly limited. Of course, back in the day, I probably did not even knew all these details, but only when I did this vintage videos, when I took this out of the basement and I had to Google the manual, I found out that this motherboard actually supported 83 megahertz, and now I run it. Yeah, I know I run this IDT WinChip overclocked to nearly 250 megahertz with 83. Although this PC chips or whatever that was, you can watch this other video. The manual says this 83 megahertz is undocumented and only supported on later revisions. There's like some revision 6 of this PCB, and I don't have this. I only have revision 2.1 or something, version 2.1 of this, exactly this motherboard. So theoretically it is not, it's neither documented and only supported on latest revisions, which I don't have, but so far in my limited testing it actually worked. Surprisingly, had I known this back in the day, but back in the day somehow all these details were not as visible on the analog modem V90 internet. Yeah, so this is here the short idea of this. We will also continue, although performance-wise I'm not the most thrilled or amazed or whatever stunned with Clang or Clang or whatever you want to pronounce that. I anyway will install it here just for the testing, just to have a motivation. Well, performance is not really worse or something, but to improve our T2, although maybe I spend too much time on random open source stuff, but whatever. There will always be haters, I guess, but to motivate me to test this, for example, I hacked Valgrind to compile it, still segmentation faults. Maybe there is some kind of configuration to make Valgrind work with Musel, with this other libc, but whatever. So as you've seen in the video, also AMD GPU doesn't work for me with Musel libc for whatever reason. It's segmentation faulting with some invalid address there. So in contrast to the people who always say this is no work, everything just compiles and we basically do nothing here, you see that if you, first of all, you need to script all this stuff to compile all the metadata, which already takes up all your time, then you need to test compile it, usually it doesn't compile, and then you spend hours, days and nights debugging all these details. So this we will continue also for this theoretically in this autumn or winter. So don't forget to share, like and subscribe, because we need to reverse engineer this GMA 500 PowerVR graphics there, because Intel licensed here PowerVR in this Intel Pulse-Pro GMA 500. Unfortunately, there is only binary-only graphic acceleration for this, and that only worked with vintage versions of Ubuntu from a decade ago. So fun stuff there ahead if we want to pursue this. Otherwise, we have unaccelerated graphics, which is of course not amazing, and Musel for the testing for the Road Warrior. And otherwise, let's read the comments and see if you watch this in the archive. Let me know if you would be interested in this data points running this completely vintage stuff, because this here, let's open this up here. This is Rock Linux and here is version. Let's see what is in here. This is not saying much, but yeah, you see in this archive backup this dates 1999 here, the latest files, so somehow Christmas from just nearly 20 years ago, probably like the Voodoo stuff. Maybe versus a YouTube video 20 years later. But this is also the sad thing. Can I do so much more in general with this machine here compared to back in the day? This was also, did it even had black box? Maybe not. Where was it? By the way, fun fact, this stuff was named PKJ config, just like the modern package config, right? So fun, or package, is it with dash or without? Hello, we don't have. Ah, yeah. So exactly, probably just the bash completion is irritated here with the same direction name. So what a funny coincidence this is. Of course, T2 nowadays has quite evolved here in naming this from this old Rock Linux. It is a little bit further apart, but let's see, do we have Blackbox? Maybe not, but we have actually, okay, so not even IceVM so much. You see, even IceVM I added, whatever else I added, so no idea if TVM, actually, okay, back in the day this TVM was not a single package, this was included in the X3 package, it directly came with TVM. Not okay, but it has Enlightenment, I think I've seen there. And of course the ISDN 4K utils and fun stuff like this. So let's read the comments. And yeah, in a way, probably not the worst YouTube video idea, seeing how far we can come. Also wonder how stable SMP was, if we can run SMP like 4 cores or even 2 cores or 4 cores. I certainly did not hit SMP back in the day. My first dual core system ever was probably, I guess, a G5 under the table here, I guess, from the Apple G5 PowerPC. Was maybe my first dual processor system, and in 2005 or something, whenever that was. So comments in the audience, 1998 Holy, Batman writes Christian, and Red Hat, Graver writes he believes he had Red Hat 5.2 box set from that area. I have SUSE CDs, not sure if in the meantime I've thrown them in the trash, but SUSE was only short. I did not enjoy that very much. I also totally hated Debian. I had this on I probably found Linux through this magazine CDs. Back in the day you brought a magazine and there was some CD maybe with Debian. We totally hated this, my friend and I, my neighbor, which we taught us all the programming together. We both hated this. This was so complicated for non-Unix people. We were really scratching our head. We had Windows, DOS, Windows 3.1, a little bit Windows 9, T5, maybe even a little bit Windows NT. Yes, at work I was trainee. We had Windows 3.5 and later Windows NT4, and we totally hated it, both of us. We said this open source multitasking thing, this Unix stuff, this Linux was the first time we have seen Unix, right? We did not grow up in this rich elite Unix family kind of stuff where the parents were at MIT or wherever, Berkeley and stuff like this. So we were sitting with our old vintage. Actually, fun fact, he had an even XT, IBM XT, and we had the 386. And then later, actually, their family purchased a 486, and theirs was much faster. But this back in the day, you were waiting 3 or 4 years. I was saving all my money only after I earned a little bit. Then many years later, I could purchase my first PC. And never could fully use it because my system at the time was brand spanking new. And yeah, Danny, welcome, vintage stuff. And yeah, fun stuff. I see watching streams made me independent. Fun stuff. I see watching your streams made me independent in using Linux. I can compile everything and debug. That sounds amazing. Happy to hear this. And yeah, I probably will do this another day. It would be really interesting to see. I only hope that I have here all the download archive, because finding all the missing files would be... yeah, this was, I probably guess, before AGP and probably at the verge of USB. And yeah, this was Pain. USB was completely new. And fun fact with this microkernel stuff, I had this Avison driver for this Avison scanners, and this was of course userland. Even for SCSI this was userland insane. And then this companies made the first USB scanner, and I did not even know that this is from Avison, because Avison is a not as known but very big Taiwanese company that I also visited there locally, was a few times at the Computex, was in the headquarters, amazing headquarters there, huge headquarter in Taiwan, Hsinchu, next to Taipei, by car probably. By the way, fun fact, this Hsinchu is a huge industrial town, but in previous times before the PC revolution, this was a fisher village, and then with the government funding, they built up all this PC manufacturing there in Hsinchu. I think next door was Genesis, Genesis Logic, and there were also MediaTek. I think the next complex or something, a couple of blocks away, is MediaTek or something, and other fun companies, fun stuff like this. And then only later, independently of me, I did not know this, then some Linux kernel module appeared for Hewlett-Packard scanners, and back in the day I did not know that Avision is producing scanners for Hewlett-Packard, for example. So a lot of big companies buy their scanners there and glue their logo there on the plastic. And this kernel module was super unstable. This was total pain in the ass. You sent there some commands, because then some people they used it with this Avision backend there, insane. And then I got support emails that nobody even told me. And then I got support emails, hey, I tried to scan here, it crashes my kernel. What kernel? Which Hewlett-Packard? What even? And then I tried to support this, but the problem is, and there you see why I want microkernel. This was constantly crashing, and the scanner was stuck in this USB submission of commands, and then it was totally error prone. First of all, I didn't even know about this, and then you sent this, because this kernel module made this USB scanner appear as SCSI. And then my scanner driver, I did not even know this, and then what I did not even know, it was compatible enough to work, and one command, the scanner didn't work, and this USB kernel module SCSI emulation thing crashed. And then after a year or something, someone sent a scanner to me, donated. I mean, fun fact, right? You do all this work, nobody pays you. The only thing I got from this was a scanner, because one user said he has 2 scanners at work or something. He sent me a scanner, and I re-implemented this USB stuff in user space, because this was, and since then it worked, right? I mean, who wants this SCSI emulation with USB stuff in your kernel? If one, by the way, the scanner crashes because it doesn't like a command, and then nearly your whole monolithic kernel crashed then back in the day, and you can press the reset button because all this emulation hiccup is messed up there and stuff. And 3D comments in the audience, fun stuff, watching independent here, USB, AGP, and no X11 drivers for the S3 Savage 3D. Yeah, thanks for joining. Fun stories from back in the day, and until today, of course, all the scanner drivers are user space, because there you see already another indication why you would not want to have all this in the kernel. That's it for this. Leave it in the comments below if you would enjoy and have fun with this vintage stuff. And we will probably, by the way, zero drop frames thanks to my SSH tunnel here. Everything. Do we have this in the statistics? Hard to read, and we don't have it in the statistics, maybe, I guess. Or do we? Wait a second. Maybe here. Maybe I should make my own labels. Yeah, ton 0. There you see everything going to through there. Unfortunately, I auctioned this not S3, 3DFX. I never had this. This Voodoo 2 would have arrived here until today. I won the auction on Sunday for not as little, or 60 euros, still a lot in my opinion, but whatever, the cheapest offer, the only offer I could win there for less than 80 something. Each saved euro counts, and paid it on Monday. They have only sent it out on Wednesday, because why should people send this stuff out quickly in front of Eastern for people to enjoy over Eastern? But anyway, hope it arrives next week, and I hope it works, because it would be really a shame if a dead card arrives here. So then comes bare metal Voodoo stuff that I never had. Anyway, and for those who want to join another live stream, you can go over to the main channel, where we will go live with a different topic in a minute for closing the live stream sessions here today. Hope you learned something, and hope to see you soon for the next videos to come.